welcome to Mennonite Farmhouse. I'm Leanne, and if you're new to my channel, I do cooking and baking from scratch, canning, and dehydrating videos. And if that sort of thing interests you, feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you find value in this video, hit the thumbs up. It really helps my channel to grow, and I sure do appreciate it. Today, I am hosting my first collaboration. Now, I fell in love with this collaboration back 4 years ago when it first was started by some channels I absolutely love. And this videos on just talking about what they love to can and what they will never can again inspired me to fill up my pantry with lots of different things. So with the new generation of canners coming on in this year of 2022, I thought I would head this up myself and get some fabulous channels involved, and maybe some channels that may be new to you, to tell you what they love to can. And not everybody's going to have the same opinion on each thing that they can. So this is going to be a worthwhile effort for you to go follow the playlist that I'm going to have for you down below, and the list of channels that are going to be heading this up with me. And we're all dropping our video at the same time today. And if you're a channel or would like to make a video for this collaboration, feel free to tag me in the description box or your title, just at Mennonite Farmhouse. I'll be sure to add your video to the playlist as well. So we're talking about canning and what we love to eat and can. I asked everybody what 5 things you would love to can again and what 5 things you won't can again. Let's start with my selection. First thing I love to can, that I'm always gonna can and love to can, is canning meat. I love the idea of already having cooked meat on my shelf that's shelf stable and I don't have to worry about it going bad. I love using chicken in casseroles and soups and making chicken patty sandwiches from them, which I have a video on. And the possibilities are endless with chicken. Pork, I like opening up the jar, heating it up in the pot, and slapping some barbecue sauce on for a quick fast food meal. I like making pork fried rice in my Instant Pot, which one of these days I might do a video on. And I love beef tacos instantly with canned beef. And the possibilities are endless with, like, sometimes when I am just drained and don't want to cook and it's 11 o'clock at night because we're farmers and that might be the time of night that we might actually get into the house, I can heat up a jar of that, add some barbecue sauce, and we have sandwiches in 5 minutes. That is why I love to can meat. The second thing I love to can and always will can is green beans and beets. These are very easy to can. Can these easily 5 or 6 times during the summer. And I have a pantry shelf full of green beans. And beets. Beets are a superfood, and I just love having these on my shelf. And again, just open the jar and put them in a pot and heat them up. I just find that to be so easy to have a meal. I don't know why this is in the I will love to can again section. This is Swiss chard. The process of canning this is mind-blowingly hard because you need a lot of Swiss chard to fill up a jar. But my husband loves it, so that's why it's something I'm going to love to can again. I might do a video on how to do it, but as you can see, greens always have a lot of siphoning in them. So that's why I'm shy away from canning greens. But a casserole called chicken Florentine, and I use canned chard in this. That's very good. So vegetables, something I always will can. The third thing I'm always gonna can every year, or as long as I have on my shelf, this is sweet and sour sauce. You can find the recipe in this book, the complete book of home preservation. And I believe it's on 262 if I can remember right. Yes, it is. This sauce you can make 2 different sauces from, a barbecue sauce, and I don't really care for it, but in a pinch, it's good. I think I made something the other day. It was really good. Oh, I put it on pizza. Then I did chicken and red onion and something else, and that was pretty good. But the sweet and sour sauce, I love it. But it might be a little time consuming to do because you actually have to take the seeds out of the tomatoes, which have to be San Marano's more or less, before you turn it into a puree. But other than this, I love making sweet and sour chicken or sweet and sour pork with this. Serve it over mashed potatoes with your canned Swiss chard. That's probably the one way I can eat it. But I love this sauce. It's full of flavor. It has some heat to it, pineapple juice. It's wonderful. So and I don't understand why there's no videos on YouTube about how to can this up. So expect that video sometime this summer. The fourth thing I'm always gonna can is soup. I love these two soups more than anything and have it on my shelves. Just from having these soups on my shelf, I can make millions of different versions of vegetable soup, like cheeseburger soup, like I did back for September. You can add so many different proteins and so many herbs and so many starches to vegetable soup that I have here canned that you can never have the same soup more than every other 3 weeks. And you don't want food boredom. Some people are afraid if they just can certain things for their pantry that they're going to get tired of the food. So this is a great way not to get bored with your food. French onion soup. I never really knew what it was until I canned it. My husband's like, why are you canning it? I'm like, the needy homesteader said this is a great soup, so I'm gonna can it. And boy, I absolutely love this soup. You can also use it for loose meat sandwiches. You can use it as a substitute for your pouches of dry soup mix from the store. Just have to convert it to liquid somehow. But this is full of flavor. You can add it to casseroles. I mean, the possibilities with French onion soup. And I also like the Ball Books spiced tomato soup. I've canned this at least for the last 5 years just to have it on my shelf. And you can probably use this in casseroles as well. So I think these 3 soups are the most practical way to go if you have limited time and what you want to can for your pantry. The 5th thing I'm always going to can as long as I need to is Sloppy Joe starter. And you can find that recipe in the Balls Canning Back to Basics book. I just love this recipe. It's another thing. I can just brown up a pound of hamburger, pour it on, simmer it for 10 minutes, and we have supper along with the jar of green beans. This is what we usually do. And maybe some starch of some kind. And I've also made a casserole from Sloppy Joe starter. You could probably make chicken cacciatore with this just because it has a tomato sauce and peppers and onions in it. I haven't done it, but it's a possibility. You don't always have to use this for Sloppy Joes. And that's why I find it versatile in my pantry. I'm always trying to make each food that I prep for my jars to be more than one trick pony. What are some things you've found that you love to can and will always can? And what are some things that you found that you don't love to can? Leave a comment down below. Now for the 5 things I'm not gonna can again. And the first thing I'm not gonna can again is something I don't have a jar of because I had to empty the jar because it was a waste of real estate. I'm not gonna can bell peppers anymore. I did it out of necessity, thinking since I had 70 plants in my garden that first year and wanting to preserve them, and my mother-in-law's, how about pressure canning them? So we did. And you had to cut them into quarter-sized pieces of the peppers, and which were big chunks. They turned into mush. And I don't know, I just felt like it was a waste of my time. I'd rather dehydrate them. I'd rather freeze them. So that's why I'm never gonna pressure can bell peppers anymore. The second thing I'm never gonna can again is bruschetta in a jar. I got inspired by other YouTubers to can it because it looked good. Well, yes, it's pretty in a jar. But I find the textures of the tomatoes to be a little bit mushy, and I'd rather enjoy it fresh. And we haven't used it that much. I've had this on my shelf for 3 years now, and I only made, 10 jars, and I still probably have 7 jars at least. I try to put them in my casseroles, but I never felt like the flavors of the bruschetta came through in the jar. So I find it to be a waste of my time to can this. The third thing I'm never gonna can again, unless my husband tells me I have to, is pickles. Pickles of all sorts of kinds. Like, I can't tell you how many different kinds of things I've pickled that are in my cellar. And since we have so many different kinds, they're not getting used up. And this has been a hit or miss for me, is pickled cauliflower. I love putting it on salads, but I don't want to put it on my salad every time I have a salad. And sometimes the flavor's been off, so I don't know what I did to make it not taste right. So it's been a disappointment. And if it's not working for me, I'm not going to can this again. Like, maybe just do a little batch during the summer when I have fresh cauliflower and pickle it and just store it in my refrigerator. That's how I'm going to prepare it for next time. And pickles. They've been so more of a miss for me than a hit. Like, I'd rather just buy pickles because we don't eat them that often. And when we do, it's more or less just with burgers. I don't understand why people go to the trouble to can 100 jars of pickles every year, because this jar's from the first month we were married. So this might be a good jar or not. When we like pickles, we like cucumber relish. I find it's going to be a waste of my time to can pickles. When I first did it the first year, I loved red onions and vinegar, which is found in this book. But onions over time break down faster than anything. And I highly recommend you make salad dressing with the vinegar that's in here. It will be the best dressing you will ever have. But they break down so they don't hold their shape. So you have to use this up quickly. So I think I'm going to just pickle onions and put them in the refrigerator and use them up quickly that way, because this isn't working for me. The fourth thing I'm never going to can again is pumpkin. Well, I tried to tell this to my husband when I was talking to him about what I was going to say in this video. He's like, why? I like the taste of it better than my dehydrated powder. And maybe I'll can another batch just because he cried. But I find pumpkin to be lots of work. You gotta peel it, you gotta blanch it, then you gotta pressure can it for 90 minutes. And just the peeling alone scares me because I've cut myself already. But then when you open the jar, you have to drain it at least overnight in the refrigerator. Then you might not even use the whole jar. So that discourages me. So I really don't like canning pumpkin. Now the last thing I'm never gonna can again is beans. I can't get them to hold their shape, and actually maybe I have too high standards, but if I'm gonna can something, it should look somewhat close to what it comes from the store. But just look how mushy these look. I don't know if it's because they're pinto beans and I'm just using the wrong kind of bean. But if you're gonna can them safely, you gotta cook them a long time before you put them in the jar. And if you're gonna rebel can them, they still turn out mush. So honestly, I think I'm just gonna stick to rehydrating them, then cooking them for the amount of time that they need to be cooked, then storing them in my refrigerator for a week at a time. And if I don't use them within a certain amount of days, I'm just gonna freeze them and then pull them out, because I like to taste my food the way it should be tested. So I just don't care for mushed beans. I mean, this would be great for refried beans, but I've never made them. And I've hardly ever bought refried beans at the store. I mean, one of these days maybe, yeah, I'll try it, but how often is that gonna happen? Now I wanna talk about my canning goose. I wanna be able to talk a few minutes on stuff that I did wrong. All right, Sloppy Joe starter. This is the first year I made it. I didn't understand what finely chopped meant when it came to the bell peppers. And I took these bell peppers and ran them through my meat grinder. So it didn't faze me when my recipe yielded 6 jars instead of 4 according to the book. This tastes way too peppery. You gotta learn what they mean by how to prep your vegetables for the recipe. So now I just use my vegetable chopper and it comes out wonderful. That was a big goof. This is pickled cabbage, or also known as coleslaw. My cabbage the way I've done this is too fine. It might cause density issues, which at the time I didn't understand because I was still learning myself. So if I ever were to can this again, I would chop it by hand with a very sharp knife, which I now have. But I highly recommend doing this recipe that's in the ball book for freezing. I prefer my coleslaw frozen. Now this is potatoes. Now I obviously used the wrong kind. Well, I hope you've gotten something out of this video. I really had fun doing this video. And go check out my friends at the channels below and enjoy the playlist. Thank you so very much for watching. If you've made it this far into the video, I'm sure you're loving the content of this channel. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on each video. May I suggest watching this next? Until next time, take care and God bless.